Hey Dayton, just wanted to ask you about the big picture thing here of what it means to have baseball back for Royals, Kansas City, in our country.
Well, we're just so thrilled, internally as an industry for this opportunity to get back and play, and especially for our fans and our fans in Kansas City and throughout our region. I mean, as you know, Flanny, how passionate our fans are, how much they anticipate and look forward to summer nights at the K and just following our team and to be able to provide that experience once again is really fulfilling for us. It's humbling, and we just can't wait to get going.
What do you anticipate spring training to be like? I know you're gonna have a 40-man roster. You've got this 20-man satellite team. Do you expect to have all 60 in camp? And what happens to the guys that you already optioned out? Do you just gonna call them back up and will they
Yeah,
be
we're,
at camp too?
yeah, we're working through that. I mean, players that have been optioned out do not have to be a part of this 60. And so we're working through that right now, based on some other things that I won't get into and more futuristic thinking with what might happen, in the minor leagues as the summer unfolds. But I mean, we have a pretty good idea of who that 60 will be. We just finished a meeting internally as we're beginning to contact those individuals and giving them an idea of what to expect here in the next 4 to 5 days, and what testing is going to look like, and beginning to, as I said, to make those calls. But it'll be, nobody surprising in that list. I mean, we may look forward to an opportunity to add some of our top prospects to this group of 60. Again, that's still something that we're looking at and we have been looking at, and we want to do that in a coordinated way, and again, what the future might look like the rest of the summer. And so, right now we're still having those discussions.
Will the workouts be staggered at all throughout the day, or do you
I think
think?
so. Yeah, we'll probably look to do that. I mean, as you know, we're really excited to have spring training 2.0 here in Kansas City, where our fans know we're preparing each day for, that July 23rd, 24th start date. And so we'll probably stagger it. We may use, different facilities throughout Kansas City that we're still looking into right now as well.
Okay, thanks, Dayton.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dayton, it's Lynn. Uh, at this point, do you guys have any reason to believe there may be any players or staff who may stay away for health reasons, or is everybody, as far as you know, plan to be heading back to Kansas City for this spring training?
Well, right now, Lynn, I think we feel pretty optimistic that, some of our players that are higher risk. I mean, as we all know, Timmy Hill's a cancer survivor. And but in talking to Nick Kinney, he believes, Timmy Hill is really looking forward to playing. So we don't envision any of our players opting out, if you will, at this point in time. But I'm sure they're still having some of those discussions, with their family members, and so we'll let you know if indeed one of our players decides that he doesn't feel comfortable participating.
And you had you mentioned the with some of the prospects and sort of looking towards the future. I mean, are you guys still sort of leaving the door open just internally there for some form of a minor league season? Is that sort of what you're saying? Is your
Well,
planning?
and I'm not sure there'll be a minor league season, but I know JJ Piccolo's on a player development committee that Major League Baseball put together, and they're looking at other options, whether it be somewhat of a hybrid instructional league slash games, whether it be in Arizona or some other places. I mean, so they're just still looking at a lot of different things, and so we don't want to compromise this group of 60 with players that perhaps may not be a part of this group, say mid-August, and knowing that we probably wouldn't be able to replace them. So, we're still looking through some things, but, we want to make sure that not only do we give our major league team as much opportunity to win and as much depth that is necessary, over this 60 game schedule. And so, but we also want to balance that with making sure that we've got, prospects here that, we need to, have them take that next step in their development to be ready for, 2021 and beyond.
Hey, Dayton, do you have any that you know of anyway, have had any positive tests or anybody that's had concerns and quarantined or anything like that?
We do have a player, a Venezuelan player that is being monitored right now, who's been at our complex, a player that played last year in the Dominican Summer League. And it seems like every day, we're paying much closer attention to that. Not that we always haven't, but as we ramp up, we're having daily discussions with all of our players and just making sure, what their last 10 weeks of medical history looks like, and family members and so forth. But right now, Sam, we've been really fortunate, with this. I think Nick Kinney and the medical team have done an amazing job. As you know, we closed our spring training complex early on, just allowed players to show up there in staggered groups, to work out on the fields, not enter the building, not enter the clubhouse, not use the weight room or the training facilities. Only those players that were on rehab were permitted to use the training facilities. And I think we only had maybe 4 to 6 players in the rehab, which is amazing, truthfully. And so, we've been very cautious, and I think rightly so. And I think our processes have worked out pretty good, knowing that, we couldn't send our Venezuelan players home. There was no place for them to go. And so we took it upon ourselves, as did 29 other major league teams, to figure out how to best serve them, through this challenging time.
Thank you.
This is Karen. What about coaches like Rusty and Jersh, who are in a age group where you'd want to be concerned that they're not exposed to people who are asymptomatic?
Well, that's a great question. And, Mike Matheny and I have been talking quite a bit about that, over the last few weeks. And so, we have explained, to, Rusty Kuntz and Rafi Belliard and others. And we're actually going to be talking to them in the next day or so. And we've got clubhouse staff, clubhouse members as well, front office members that are kind of in the same category. And so we've just kind of educated them on some of the risk factors and kind of left it up to them. But we have also made sure that they understand that we have so many talented people in our organization that can step up and, fill in for them over the next 2 months if necessary.
And also, Dayton, have you mapped out, as they put the schedule together, how you will handle your team when you go to be the visiting team? Will you keep a quarantine kind of atmosphere in a hotel situation when you do make road trips?
Yeah, we're looking at all that, Karen. We've got Major League Baseball has done an unbelievable job. And I think, truthfully, all the other sports are using Major League Baseball as an example. The protocols have been very well thought out. They are extremely thorough. We're going to do everything necessary to make sure that our players, the health of our players, the health of our staff, the health of our fans, all of that is the highest priority. And, we'll take the necessary procedures on the road to make sure our players are, in the hotel. And if they're not in the hotel, they're at the ballpark.
Hey, Dayton, along the same lines, though, when the players are here for spring training, a lot of them still have some at homes here, but will there be 1 or 2 centralized hotels? I'm not asking where, but that will, house most of the players from spring training?
Yeah, Jeff Davenport's working through a lot of that right now. And as you mentioned, many of our players already have homes here, or the homes that they have been leasing. Those leases began, first part of April. And so we're working through that, and with local hotels or apartments, condos that are willing to be available for the use of our players.
Kind of along those lines, Dayton, one of the things that we've seen through some of the colleges trying to return to play is things look pretty good, and then they start getting some positive tests. Just how much personal responsibility will there be for the players to not only follow protocols at the stadium when you're doing your stuff, but in their off times?
Well, Todd, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, and the players accept that responsibility, and they have been a part of this process to mutually come together to come up with the protocols that are necessary to keep everybody safe and healthy. And the players are extremely committed, as is each team, Major League Baseball, to make sure that everybody's health is foremost at the foremost front of everything that we're doing. And so, we're confident that we'll do everything necessary to keep our players healthy. But that being said, Todd, I mean, it's I'm sure there'll be some setbacks along the way. We know that, and that's why we have a pool of players that we can draw from. And we have some of the best medical care in the world because of it. And we'll make sure that it's, again, the highest priority.
Hey, Dayton, with some of the young pitchers you mentioned on the 60, is there a greater temptation in a year like this to use those guys in the major league team, just not knowing if you're going to get those instructs and wanting them to actually get innings?
Well, Colby, I'm not sure we put him in the major league games for a lot of reasons. I mean, you got to have the roster spots aren't going to change. I mean, it's still a 40-man roster. We'll begin the year with a 30-man active roster, and then every 2 weeks it'll be dwindled down by 2 until we get to that 26. We'll go with 26 players the rest of the way and through the playoffs as well. So, we wouldn't add a player to our major league team, Colby, unless we felt he could help us win major league games. We wouldn't do it for developmental purposes.
Do you feel like you have, Brady Singer obviously was close to maybe making that roster anyway, but do you feel like you have more than a few top arms right now this year that could help you win games?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's just a matter of, again, managing the roster and what the right opportunity is. I mean, there's other players that we want to make sure that we give the first opportunity to because of where they are in their careers, their experience level, what they've done in the past, their past major league successes. And, many of our players, we don't have to put on the 40-man roster yet. And as I've mentioned before, you want to be 100% sure that a player is ready to help you win at the major league level before you add him to that 25-man roster. And in this case, some of the prospects to the 40-man roster. So, and again, Colby, there's no minor leagues to send them down to if indeed, they struggle at the major league level. You can send them, I guess, down to the taxi squad, but they're not going to be playing games. And so it's just a unique situation and, a unique challenge that we're looking forward to, but we've also got to think big picture as well.
And other clubs have talked about kind of harboring their taxi squad at like a minor league facility. I know you mentioned looking at other places, but do you know what you guys will do from that standpoint?
I think we got a pretty good idea, Alec, and we're waiting to get final approval from the location, the community, the county, the city. But I think, for the immediate 60, we will do it right here in Kansas City. And then once we break off into the next tier, the next group, the taxi squad, if you will, we'll look at it from there. So
we won't talk to Mike until Friday or Monday. I just wonder, I mean, you talked about him a lot throughout this and how organized he's been and focused. I mean, how confident are you in with what he's done and this club, I guess, going forward?
Well, I mean, Alec, as you know, I mean, he's an amazing leader. You've got to know Mike as well. I can't say enough about, his ability to communicate, and not only communicate, but communicate in a very positive and uplifting way, and just kind of continue to give our players a lot of hope and encouragement. And him and the entire coaching staff have done an amazing job, just making sure that our players stay prepared, and they keep working, they keep focused on that we will play baseball again. And obviously now we have a date that has been determined, and our players are going to be ready to go. And Mike and the coaching staff get a lot of credit for keeping them focused.
Hey, Dayton, it's Lynn again. I know we're going to talk to Mike in the coming days here, but just while we got you, as far as you know, are all you guys who are due to come in going to be fully healthy? I mean, just, it's been a long time since guys have been spread out here.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, that Major League Baseball sent out a memo a few days ago about closing all the facilities and testing the players that were working out at the spring training facilities before we allowed them back in. They directed us to do a very thorough cleaning of the facilities. We went through that process. And talking to Nick Kenny today, we're starting the process of testing those players that were down in Arizona. So we'll have a pretty good idea of what to expect when we begin the testing on July 1. With some of the players anyway. I mean, we'll have an idea of what we're looking at, but it's unpredictable, Lynn. I mean, we'll just manage through it one test at a time.
Yeah, I mean, but aside from the testing, I just meant in terms of just in terms of like injuries and things like that.
Oh yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, everybody's healthy based on Nick's latest assessment and his briefing, which actually took place about 2 hours ago. So all of our players are healthy and ready to go.
Dayton, this is Karen.
Just one more. As far as the day-to-day management of the roster, I mean, with the unique situation this year, I mean, normally I know you like to look at the season in sort of chunks of, 40 games at a time. How different do you anticipate this season being, and how you guys work through the roster management and day-to-day?
Well, I mean, it's a sprint. We're not going to have that same. We're going to put the best team we can on the field from day one, and we're going to go with it. And I'm sure we'll make a change here or there along the way, but every out is important. Every inning's important. Obviously, every major league game is important. So, I mean, we'll look at it more as a sprint, Lynn, I think, in this case, and I think that'll be the mindset.
Dayton, I kind of think of it like the microwave baseball. Is there something exciting about this, though? I mean, the trade deadline, August 31st, a couple different rules in tie games. I mean, there's a couple things that are added to all this. Is there something that gets your adrenaline going just to kind of see how this is going to play out?
Well, I just want to play baseball, Karen. I mean, and I'm sure you're the same way. We've grown up watching the same game our whole lives, and it's just going to be a whole lot of fun to get back on the field. And I'm really looking forward to, the first day of spring training 2.0, and to be able to do it in this unique setting, Kauffman Stadium, do it, in our city with all of our players here. And I think that's going to be extremely special and rewarding for us all, just to get back on the field. And I mean, the camaraderie that exists in our game, the connection between baseball players and baseball fans, especially in this community, is what makes this thing go. That's what makes this engine rev. And so I just can't wait, as all of us are in the same mindset, to get back on the field and play baseball.
Hey, Dayton, we've had a chance to talk to you a couple of times over this, shutdown. You've been confident that there was going to be baseball. It looks like it's going to happen now, preventing, as long as there's not enough health things going down. But just what's this? I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but emotionally, what's this been like for you? And how high were you that it was going to happen? Did you ever get a low point where you didn't think it was going to happen over this time?
Well, Todd, I always knew we'd play baseball. Of course, there's been a lot of ups and downs through this, and truthfully, be able to work with Mr. Sherman through all of this and our leadership team, it's been a growing experience, a time of great growth. We've learned a lot. I feel like we've managed through some things very well. There's probably some things looking back that maybe we could have done differently. But I'm really, really pleased with the growth of our organization. As John Sherman said from the very beginning and challenged us, I mean, how can we get through this stronger and more efficient and be better on the back end of this as an organization? And that's been our thought process through the whole thing. Todd, I mean, our only hurt and disappointment really is been, for our fans not being able to see baseball. And a lot of this obviously is out of our control. I mean, nobody could have ever predicted a pandemic. Baseball has always been the game that seems to heal our country and take our minds off some more challenging times, because baseball is played every single day. It is its own drama. There is a different script every single night. No two games are the same. They have endless opportunities to thrill us and to excite us. And so, that's what we miss most of all. But there's been so much work to do along the way that has been fulfilling from the leadership standpoint. But Todd, I'm probably no different than you. I mean, at 7 o'clock, I like to watch baseball, all spring and all summer and all fall. And so the challenging part for me and others has been, okay, 7 o'clock at night, what do we do, right? I mean, that's what we're so conditioned to be a part of. And so that's been the challenging part. But it's the good thing is, in life and in baseball, yesterday's gone, and we're focused on today, and we're focused on the future. And the future is really, really bright for our game. And I think once the players start playing and the fans begin to watch the games and see how hard the players play and the passion in which they go about their jobs, I mean, we're going to realize why we love this game so much.
Dayton, it's Vern. Question about that sprint that you alluded to earlier. Strategy-wise, do you think that it's a different approach? We see pitching handled differently in September. Is that how you expect the game to be handled right out of the gate?
Well, it's a good question, Vern. And, Mike, I know in the coaching staff, and I've been a part of some of those discussions as well. I mean, we've talked about different things to do with our rotation, different options in the bullpen because of that, different options with our position player portion of our roster, add more speed, maybe a little more power, more versatility. Is it more of a National League style game? Of course, as Karen pointed out, the DH is going to be used in both leagues, which I think is exciting, and or a positive step in the direction of our game going forward. I guess I should say. So, I think there's a lot of different things to consider, Vern. And as you know, this game's all about matchups. And so we've got to be able to make sure we match up first and foremost with our division. We're going to play 40 games within this division, and we've got to match up well against, the Tigers and the Twins and the Indians and the White Sox.
Hey, Dayton, kind of along those same lines. Harold from Fox 4. Do you feel like the way your team's constructed is built for a sprint like you're about to deal with here, and then through spring training and everything that goes involved with that, how do you feel your rotation matches up for a sprint instead of a marathon like a regular normal season?
Well, I like the fact that we've got a lot more power arms in our bullpen. And so I think Mike has a lot of weapons and a lot of different ways to match up. I think we have starting pitchers who can execute pitches and go through a lineup. and with a bullpen that has a chance to be much better, much improved, and certainly our defense is very good. So, like we all know, it's timely hitting. It is tough outs. It's consistent defense. It's running the bases in a way that is aggressive but smart. And I think we can do all those things. And I think certainly a shorter season gives a team in our position maybe a little more of an opportunity. But we left. When we were getting towards the end of spring training, we felt really good about our team, and we felt that we were going to really surprise some people. As we all know, it's a very hungry group. It's a group that wants to prove that they can be a championship caliber team. I don't doubt one bit the competitive nature of our baseball players. I don't doubt one bit the fact that our players care greatly about one another. And Mike Matheny and the coaching staff are in harmony, working together closely with one another and our players. And I certainly don't doubt the expectations and the passion and the support of our fan base, which is an advantage for us. And then I go back to John Sherman and the ownership group and how supportive they have been through all of this, and how excited that we are internally as a front offices and a team to make them proud, because they've stood behind us in a way that's very meaningful.
Also, last question I got for you when it comes to the fans, is there anything you talk to maybe about a virtual experience or anything, since they won't be able to watch the game in person? I know some teams in other countries have had kind of a virtual board to look at games or anything like that. Has there been any conversations like that you or any people in the front office might have?
I'm not a part of those discussions on a daily basis. Kevin Ulick and Mr. Sherman, I'm sure, are discussing those things, and Mike Swanson may have an idea about that as well. And I'm sure once we have a clear vision of what that'll look like, we'll certainly share that. I mean, we're very hopeful that we can have fans at some point in time. I mean, that's why we do this. I mean, we play baseball for fans, and I guarantee you that we will look to provide the very best entertainment experiences we can, for our fan base.
Is that everybody? I know some of you have been just quiet out there, just making sure. All right, Dayton, thank you. I appreciate your time. I'm going to give you a call here in a minute. Thanks to all the media. Stay close to your emails. We're going to be sending advisory after advisory out over the next few days. So, and we'll set up a couple other Zoom calls. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Tony.
Thanks, dude.